We are so back. Before I jump into this video, I want to take a sec to thank all of you guys for the support on the first video, the Shinichi one. The comments are really heartwarming and motivating, and it's encouraged me to create more content for you guys, so thank you. And if this is your first time seeing this channel, then I recommend taking a peek at that video because it took a good bit of research and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Also, thankfully, I'm not sick anymore, so I'm hoping my voice sounds a little bit more animated, a little bit more excited, and a little bit more entertaining. Getting into this video anyway, we have Kagura Bachi chapter 32, and I just want to say these color pages are absolutely breathtaking. Hokuzono Sensei's use of watercolors are always gorgeous, and this is no exception. We see Chihiro with his wakizashi, his bandaged arm, and the broken cloud gouger spilling lightning from his mouth. I really hope we continue to get watercolor spreads in future, because they're so unique in comparison to basically every other manga in Shonen Jump right now. Getting into the chapter, however, we begin exactly where we left off, with Chihiro pinned against the wall by the leader of the Hishaku. But fortunately, he isn't pinned metaphorically, because right as the chapter starts, we get to see what exactly the shred ability teased at the end of the last chapter is all about. Cloud Gouger, in solidarity with Chihiro on the brink of death, strained to serve its master, unleashing lightning beyond its limits. And I want to stop before we really get into the action, because this line further hints towards the theory or speculation that these swords are genuinely sentient, which is really cool, especially since Cloud Gouger didn't do this for Sojo, even when he was on the brink of death, which I just kind of found interesting. Anyway, Chihiro uses this new ability magnificently, speed blitzing the Hishaku leader and detaching his arm from his body. This is such an impressive feat for Chihiro, because the Hishaku leader was able to keep up with normal Mei when he was in base. So now this guy who has lightning speed reactions in base can't even react fast enough to save a limb. And I have two questions after seeing this. One being, is it faster than Nishiki times 3, which Chihiro used against Sojo? And two, what could Sojo have done with this power? Because we know that he's kind of a genius when it comes to combat. Like, he mastered most of Cloud Gouger's powers in a week. Regardless, great choreography as per. Hokuzono Sensei is, in my humble opinion, one of the best fight choreographers in modern Shonen Jump. His ability to present dynamic movement through the use of backgrounds and make it so easy to follow from the reader's point of view is just unmatched. For example, the Hishaku guy uses his arm as a distraction to get a sneak attack on Chihiro, but Chihiro is now fast enough to evade and counter his counterattack in an instant. And the way your eyes just glide across this page so seamlessly is just mwah, chef's kiss. But anyway, the Hishaku guy spits blood on Chihiro's eyes and we see him move his hand. It seems to me like he's trying to grab Chihiro, but thankfully our goat manages to get out of the way in time. And honestly, I didn't think that this guy was actually the leader of the Hishaku at first. Like, I thought he was just straight capping. But after this chapter, I think I'm convinced. As Chihiro says, the mental and physical power needed to sacrifice your own limbs to attack your enemy when you presumably don't have any form of regeneration is completely unthinkable for me. There's a giant crater left in the wooden wall that Chihiro pounced off of initially, and Chihiro comments on its thickness and rapid regeneration. I also want to mention that this tree is strikingly similar to the one used by this guy in chapter 1. Maybe it's a technique passed down to members of the Hishaku. I'm unsure, but it's interesting that there's two different characters that have the same technique. Unless they're related, and we just haven't learned that yet. Chihiro continues, saying that he only has 3 left, presumably in reference to the blitzing power of Mei. And this is continued by the narrator, who says that by getting in touch with its deepest levels, Chihiro could feel Cloud Gouger's impending demise. Now I wonder, does this mean that Cloud Gouger is about to run out of power? And if so, is that power going to be gone for good? I really hope not, because Cloud Gouger has some sick abilities that I really want to see developed. But it does make sense, seeing as after the fight with Sojo, it's not half the sword it used to be. Chihiro also mentioned that the Hishaku guy still hasn't used his sorcery, meaning, quote, either he's got his hands full controlling that tree, or he has something up his sleeve, end quote. And I think it's the latter, because if this guy really is the leader of the Hishaku, then surely he would have a unique power, and not just the same copy and pasted one from earlier in the manga. Chihiro also mentions that he's worried about Chiba and Hakuri, but most importantly, we also see Mr. Inazuma's helmet. Chihiro's inner thoughts really show his character off here. He's not focused so intently on his enemy like he was in the last chapter, but on the prevention of the auction and the safety of the innocent people involved, like Hikari and Mr. Inazuma's sister, which is super sweet and makes complete sense when you take into account his brother and sister style relationship with Char. Then we cut to Hikari, who, in a shocking turn of events, is getting his ass beat. Bro thinks striking the same pose over and over again is actually going to change the outcome of the fight. Anyway, Soya is beating this man black and blue. Soya has a weak mind. He's going full on schizo, blaming Chihiro, saying that he's going to abandon Hikari when in reality, the Sazanami clan are the ones who isolated Hikari in the first place. Soya proceeds with calling him a weakling, saying that all he can do is lose, but mentally, Hikari's on top, thinking about what's going on with a level head. Chihiro's trying to break through the wall. Of course, our objective is underground. He must be warming up. The next one's going to be big. Soya continues to insult our goat until Hikari tells him to shut up, and we get this flashback, wherein we get a really insightful lesson from Chihiro on how sorcery works in the world of Kagura Bachi. According to Chihiro, and Chiba too I guess, everyone has spirit energy, and sorcerers train to control it and to increase their capacity. Training this can strengthen your body. Skillful circulation of spirit energy can give you increased mobility and superhuman defense, which we have seen throughout the series. And all of that comes before we even talk about sorcery. But what Chihiro's trying to say is basically, for strong sorcery, you need a strong body. Shiba thinks that Hikari can already use sorcery. Theoretically. Hikari says the Sazanami learn and train with spirit energy from the age of 8, and Iso, their technique, at age 11. But Hikari wasn't able to do anything by the age of 12. We see him being beaten by his family relentlessly. Before Shiba explains that while, theoretically, Hikari can use Iso, because of his mindset, where he believes he can't do anything, he's unable to actually utilize that power. And this has so many interesting implications. Is this a thing that can happen to all sorcerers? Did Sojo get so powerful so quickly because of his mindset, being that the enchanted blades are made for slaughter and that they're weapons of mass destruction? I can't wait to see how far this point goes. How much of an impact does a sorcerer's mind have on their powers? We also see Hikari's faith in Chihiro. These panels show us how much Hikari believes in him. Even while getting beaten by Soya, his older brother, who's supposed to look after him and protect him, Hikari's main focus is on the fact that Chihiro will come and save him, which is really touching. I'm a big fan of Hikari's character and the way he's developing, going from someone who thinks that they are useless because of the family that they were born with, to someone who can have a positive impact on the world thanks to the family that they've found is really, really sweet to me. All of this development then climaxes when Hikari's mindset changes from I can't do anything to, as Chihiro says, this will be the final year of the Rakuzaichi. We'll do it together, before Hikari lets out his sorcerer abilities and finally uses Iso. Which is so hype, because although Kagura Bachi is only 32 chapters in, Hikari's potential to use Iso has been foreshadowed since like chapter 19. Needless to say, Soya is shook, for a moment anyway. He's surprised that Hikari was able to use Iso at all, but all he really did in reality was push him away. However, Hikari sees it differently, because in Hikari's mind, he did enough. He moved his brother with his own power, and where did he move him? Right in the path of Chihiro, who burst through the wall, piercing through Soya before immediately acknowledging Hikari and telling him to move forward. And it's just, oh, it's so good. Oh. We can also see the leader of the Hishaku complimenting Chihiro's level head, and I didn't notice this on my first read through, but behind him we can see our newfound ally Hiyuki ready to throw hands, and if I was hyped before, I don't know what I am now. If I had to make a prediction for the next chapter, I'd say that we're going to get Soya Sazanami and the leader of the Hishaku versus Chihiro and Hiyuki. And if you had told me 5 chapters ago that those words would exit my mouth in a YouTube video, I wouldn't have believed it. Mostly because I didn't have a YouTube channel, but also because it's insanely hype. Anyway, that's going to be it for the chapter review. If you guys noticed anything that I didn't, or have any thoughts on the future of the series based off of the info that we got in this chapter, or anything like that, leave them in the comments. I'll be sure to give them a read. And if you have any video ideas, leave them there too. I should have more free time after this week to make content, so fingers crossed I'll be able to post more. Anyway lads, like, subscribe, good luck.